Sorry guys, that was a hard fail. Alright, let's try that again. Alright, so that was a fail, taking that top part off, because now I got to deal with this little biznatch. So what we'll do on this one is we'll do the top cut first. Nice. That thing holds well. Yeah, dude. I think the censorship just got me. Might slow down on the F-bombs. You missed that makeup, but you'd really enjoy it. It's a fairly classic screw-up. Now, I went and cut through smoothly and it looked really good. Perfect, right? It's great. Excellent. Except for the fact that I need to cut a chunk out of this little bit, which is so much worse now. So I need to do the top cut, then the bottom cut. Super special. So I will instead do the top cut on this first. And then hopefully it'll be much easier to do the bottom cut and just straight attach it. Let's try an angle like that. Can I sandwich that better? There we go. Can't believe you just built that GPO1 cannon, dude. That's huge. I actually just can't believe you're still going ahead with that build. It seems like a complete pain in the butt. I mean, professionalism, etc., but god damn, it seems like a pain in the ass. When in doubt, get a vice. This thing saves lives. Obviously not literally, but it saves my sanity. What are your brand new problems? Outside, terrible molding. parts not fitting, sunken areas, patch fitting. What more could possibly be going wrong with that? Ah, I love it when things line up. Look at that. It's like I planned it. Good job. Good job, me. God. What a facetious prick. Alright. It's lined up. It's coming around. Good. Now that, whoop, zoom in please. Some small parts with detail on it. You don't have to keep this stuff, don't be mental like me. No one's going to see that, it's going to go straight up under his skirt and no one's ever going to see it again. I don't know why I bothered keeping the detail, but there it is. That one did not line up so nicely. Ta-da! Love it. All right. So it's a good 2-3 millimeter drop there. That's the first cut we need to do. Let's keep this somewhere that I don't lose it. Second one is I am going to try and remove this bit because that's another 2 millimeters, I want to say, maybe. It's pretty freaking tiny. Yep. So I'm going to do that by popping this ball off and literally just cutting here and then cutting here and dropping the ball down. It's going to be that simple and that easy. I don't think there needs to be anything too magical to it. The hardest part is going to be that I can't actually really get many tools in here, so let's figure it out. I might just have to... Ooh, I know what I'll do. I'll use science and crappy nippers. So if I come in with I can bing some of this. Tell you what, crappy nippers just took that shit off like butter. Butter. God damn New Zealand accents. Mate. Mate. Oh, cream, easy. Alright, well that was significantly quicker as a mod than I thought it might be. Give me a second to find a file. This one. Now I need to hold this somehow. That will go on nicely. Happy days. Yeah, I'll sand up the surface down here too. That one's sanded to score it up so it'll bite easy, and I'll even cut the surface a little, which will be good. That's not going to fit. Tiny sanding stick to the rescue. Alrighty. Give me a second to find some better thin cement, and I'll be right back. There it is. You know, typically I would do brass rod. I drill through both sides and do brass rod. But for something that's actually, I mean, I get the digital caliper out, but there's no real need. This is maybe 2 millimeters across, so I don't think there's really a need to brass rod it, because honestly it's not going to be under any kind of tension or structural support, right? This whole kit weighs like, I don't know, 30 grams. It's pretty light, and all it needs to do is literally hold the feet on. So we'll try it with some thin cement. I'll let it sit properly. Hopefully in about 10-15 minutes it'll be a pretty strong hold. Normally though, on any other size kit I would go straight for brass rod. Oh, but no. Hold on. Oh. When you drop something grey on grey carpet. On any other size kit I'll go straight for brass rod, yeah, definitely. What I will do though is this. Is it coming up on camera? Effectively I'm just slicing up the surface. So anytime I try and glue something small, I tend to slice and gouge the surface of it, because it increases the surface area the glue is going to bond to. My main concern is actually this part, because there's not actually anything here, it's just a small thin piece of plastic, but we'll see how it goes. If it really sucks, then yeah, I'll put a piece of rod in. The only problem with the rod is this then is empty inside completely, so I should actually seal this up properly first, but I'm going to shoot myself in the foot. Okay, yeah, I mean, if I was going to pose it, maybe, but to be honest, this will probably sit in one pose forever. I don't actually pose. Like, I don't care about posing. I'll put it in one good pose, and that's probably where it'll stay for its entire life. Unless this works out really well. I think all my glue is dried out. Hold it. Unless this works out really, really well and I end up deciding to cast it or something, which is why I'm still making it removable. Also for painting. Wow, my fin is almost completely gone. Damn it. Hold on. We might have to put a little bit of styrene in there as a spacer. Damn. Alright. That's annoying. 2 seconds. Here's a replacement. Yeah, but then I have to go wider on the peg, plus half of the grommet itself needs to be removed. So this grommet actually covers most of the plastic peg. So I could repurpose, you're saying repurpose the peg itself as the pin, right? Just by sinking it through the hole, which is a good idea, but again, I'd have to tweak the grommet anyway, so this seemed like an easy way. So let's see how we go if this actually bonds. And if it doesn't, then yeah, I'll have to try that. Let go, let go, let go. Okay. Well, that was annoying. That's better. Yeah, that's. I got your point. I would have to strip and clean the grommet. Sorry, grommet being this rubber gasket thing on the outside of it, which, you know, would be about as annoying as just chopping it like this. So let's see how we go. There's still going to be a lot of cleanup on this too. But I'll do all that cleanup off camera because it's nowhere near as interesting. So yeah, it's grabbing already. One more. Let's leave that aside. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the absolute worst case would actually just be to pin straight from the foot, and then the foot goes straight up into there. That would just be easy. I'd just drop some sprue or runner in there and straight in. But I want to try this because then I can potentially keep some mobility in them. Yeah, and I think that'll bring it up just enough to make it look a bit tighter through this joint here. If we look at the other leg, you'll see why we're doing this. You end up with that super annoying ankle gap, which is designed for a little SD to be able to pose, right? It's an illusion of mobility because you're only ever going to rotate it. But I want that so that then the foot appears visually close to this top lip. Ding. So we will try that. So while that dries, I'll sand this stuff off. Now with this one, I will definitely have to put some pla plate or styrene down over this, which will be really easy. I'll just snip a couple of basic pieces to create a frame for the new peg that goes on top. Nice and flush. Good. While that dries, we'll do this one. Yeah, the binder fork tip. So I've been thinking that one through. What I'm actually going to look at doing is, I'll show you in a second, probably actually sculpt one, to be honest. I'll use the existing binder fork tip as a basis. I'll cut it down and then where I need to, which I'll show you in a sec, basically sculpt over it, and then I can just press cast it for the other 3. And the reason behind that is because of the variance in the side of the binders. I'll need to pad that out anyway. So, by the way, if none of you have used Display sandpaper before, they're the most readily usable for just rubbing the dust out for a dry sand that I've ever had. It's amazing. What was I doing? Binder tips. So, before we carry on there, if I take this and I've removed the midsection here, it's already shortened, but what I'll need to do is play matchup. Right, there's actually a huge variance in shape, which I didn't account for. Angle, yes. Roundedness, curvature, yes. But the actual fundamental shape of this is different. Why is that line dropping out? Hold on. Come on, come on. Stupid line. Oh, it's still connected. Sweet. So yeah, what I'll essentially do is pop this bad boy on there, maybe with a little, I think I took it a little too short, so I'll probably put 1 or 2 pieces of pla plate in there to get some distance, and I will use epoxy putty to smooth this joint out and make it a more natural curve. The one I'm more or most concerned about is actually this side here, because on the side it's a very obvious drop, but what I want is a nice gradual, if I hold it like this, what I want is a nice gradual curve through here into this curve. So I'll have to cut and shape this anyway. So I'll basically pla plate underneath it, put a couple of sheets in, and then I'll epoxy over the gap and smooth this all out. And then once I have a master, what I can then do is press mold this piece. So then that'll be easy for the other 3. I mean, easy is a relative term, right? It's definitely not easy. It's going to be a pain in the ass and probably take a couple of hours, but the stencil worked, the shortening worked, so I just need to figure out how to smoothly do that in a relatively time affordable fashion. Hopefully. Or I'll fuck it up. Let's find out. In the meantime, the OG leg is mostly dry if we're really gentle here. Boom. I love it when a good plan comes together. Alright, snug. Now, is that going to break off? No, it's just going to sit there. Beep. Good job. That'll definitely come off. Yep, that'll come off. Damn it. That's alright. I'll go back and fix it back on. It was too zealous, but the height's right. Tilt the tip. For the binders, yeah. Probably. I want to get that nice flush vibe that the image has. This has a natural, and this is what I mean about the shape being fundamentally different. When the binder is originally attached, it actually has this really subtle curve like this. So when I take the middle piece out, it gives me a chance to flatten a little, like the image or the reference pic. So I want this almost straight down vibe. I don't want to tilt the tip. I will, however, shape the tip back, but I'll do that on all of them because it's really easy. Because I can just run a fixed stencil on these parts, cut them back and reshape it as needed because there's heaps of runway here. So I have plenty of room to play with that. That will almost be a separate side project because there's about as much plastic there as the kit itself. So that's good. That's good. Oh, it's actually still bonding. Okay, great. Stay there then. I don't want to touch that. Now, this one you'll enjoy, Maker. I swear to God, dude. You'll enjoy this. So if I pop this open, give me a second to brutally, forcefully open this. There's my little Super 80 what's it's. Here we go. Hand off. The way these forearms are set up is really, really odd, but let go, motherfucker. Toodaloo, motherfucker. Get off. Perfect. Smooth. Now, what I'm gonna do is even weirder on this one. I want to again shorten this, but I'm going to shorten it significantly because the reference picture has very, very chody arms recessed high up into the binder holder what's-its. Right? Now, if I look at the reference image, you barely see any forearm, and they maximize, you barely see any upper arm, and then they maximize the forearm. Again, as a reference, if I put that forearm back on, which way does it go? This way? Pretty sure it's that one. Wait, what? God damn it. Why was that so? Ah, there. It's backwards, that's why. So, what I want to do is clip in new page. Oh, it goes forwards, that's why. That's why I say it's weird. Instead of going side on like every other forearm and every other kit, it's actually the other way. So what I want to do is essentially trim the top part of this upper arm so that this bottom part of the upper arm sits flush in here, which will bring these forearm pieces up inside the line of the binder as well. Hopefully. So, that's the other one. Where's it marked? Here. So it has about that much clearance difference. If I drop a good 5mm off here, it'll raise the forearm up into here, which is fine because it's never going to need to tilt more than that. And it will then look like this is almost attached directly to the binder piece. To do this, essentially I need to cut this peg off the top. Then I'm going to use a like a supersized Danmo tool almost to do a scribe right around the circumference of this. Once that gets nice and deep, I'll saw straight through it. Then I'll put a piece of plow plate over the top, reattach the peg, and this is the instance where I'll probably drive the peg down into that piece of plow plate. Yeah, well, half of the bicep. And then it'll effectively reset that pin down to here. Then I need to go through an epoxy putty and reshape the back of these arms anyway because they're crappy and hollow like most SD stuff. But I'm going to have to do that on a lot of these parts, so I'll do a separate standalone video for all of that kind of crap. Because it's lengthy and time consuming and pointless. So what we're going to do on this is we're actually going to bring that little grommet piece up a little and cut the peg off from the very base. Because I need a flush surface to do a completely circumferential cut that's even around this. If I cut down towards the base, then I'm sure to maintain a chunk of the pin, which is good. Now I've got a circumference cut, I can then again do some basic cuts. And it comes off. Easy, flush. So that can go with the forearms. So now you can see that's completely flat. Just to go on the safe side. Yeah, exactly. I want to keep that top or a piece of this arm to show the natural curvature so it leads into the binder. Otherwise, if you have an abrupt change from the straight angle of the binder to the curvature of the arm, it just looks really stupid and weird. So I want to make sure that there's at least some kind of visual or design language transition between the two. Also, if you just attach the forearm to the binder, it looks hella stupid. People would naturally question where the bicep is. So it's number 1, and then let's do number 2. God, I'm so savage with parts. I'm surprised I don't break more parts, to be honest. I force a lot of stuff. Maybe I do and I just don't notice fixing them. I don't know. Some of this stuff just fits so snug. Again, when I'm doing those circumferential cuts around stuff, it's really light. I'm just dragging, never ever push, because that will snap it off. So the theory being here is that I can use this tool to mark a circle, or at least a line where I'm going to cut around the entire piece without having to independently mask the two. The problem with that is I need to find that tool. So we got 1. Right. Where did I put this thing? 2 seconds, guys. Cutting? Scribing? What is it? That's what I'm after. This. Which, because I live in Sydney, means it's rusted as shite. But this thing is an absolute lifesaver if I can get it to work the way I want it to work. Ignore how obviously tetanusy it's going to be. Give me 2 seconds to grab a screwdriver. I'll be back before you know I'm missing. Alrighty, so we're cutting an angle so the arms are kind of hanging out a bit. Alright, you mean so you get like a natural almost taper to the angle of the arm itself? Maybe? Maybe. I mean that's an idea. My main concern is that that's insanely hard to do as a nice clean cut. I'd have to independently mask them, and I'm a little too lazy. Yeah, I get what you mean. Actually, I get what, but I don't think I'll need it, and the reason for that is that I'm still maintaining, with this plan, the ball joint that's going back on afterwards. Right, so then even though it's a flush cut just like it is now, I can always angle it out slightly because I'll still be on a ball joint. You always got to you make it complicated. It's a good idea, but it's complicated. Alright, 2 seconds. So what I want to do with this is, instead of coming this way, this is where we've got to get a little creative with these. If I can come in like that, there we go. That's what I want. So I might use the opposite side. So what we do now is, see how it's nice and flat? I'm going to have this come in at quite a steep angle. Yeah, exactly. You can suggest whatever you like. I got to be the poor cunt that has to figure it out. Poor person that has to figure it out. Probably don't want to drop a C-bomb. That might be too much. So, which one has the measuring? There. So I want about that. And then that'll work. Yeah. And just tighten it up. Right. Stupid hollow piece. We get a good mark. It is exactly where we want it. The reason I'm turning the piece inside this is to try and keep this as flush as possible with the top of this piece. The problem I have with SD kits is to add detail, they just think rounding everything in many ways is the way to do that. They don't want to add too much detail to an SD because it's complex. So what they do is they round everything with a huge amount of complex curves. So it makes working on them kind of annoying. I don't want a bit cockeyed. 2 seconds. That's better. This is one of those tools that you never think you'll need until you need it. Right. So, the gaps at the back, yeah, definitely. Totally will be. I will be filling those gaps in for sure, but I'll be doing it all with epoxy putty and sculpting the back of it. So two blades. There's two blades. Why are there two blades? Because because there's some things you can do that have compounding effects, right? You could have one that's set up to shape one side and one to set up to mark one side. What I would typically use it for is when I was using it on specific kits for doing, say, seam lines, like the Danmo would. I would have one that was set up to chamfer, and then one that was set up as a Danmo on seam lines. So then it's kind of like my thing I use on the edges of kits. So you could use it for multiple sides. Hold on, I think data's dropped out. 2 seconds. Nope, we're good. Still sending. Come on. Dude, so annoying. Alright, yeah, so essentially you either have it for 2 different thicknesses as well. You could have one set for like 0.15, one set for 0.25. You could have one for chamfer, one for flat edges. What I have done before is on a circular tube as well. I've had 2 different angles, just the same way I had it now before, and I could actually twist it around on the inside. And I use that to mark and score a complete tube. So just think outside the box with it, but that's why I think it has 2 blades, because then you're doubling down on the usefulness of it. The MadStar one only has a single blade, and it's a hook blade, and it can only be used for a certain amount of things like scribing, like I just did, but then it can't chamfer, it can't do the Danmo stuff, it can't cut through things. That's the other thing I use this for. I'll set it to a certain angle, and then I'll just keep twisting the tube until it cuts cleanly through. Just ignore the tetanus blades. So now we have this mark. I can use that as a guide. Remember, when you are cutting into a guideline like this, cut at a 45 or an angle up into it, because what you want to do is catch the top lip of that cut with the first pass if you're going straight to a saw or a knife. Otherwise what you end up doing is slipping down the piece, first ledge. So you're looking to cut up into it at an angle, and then if it slips it doesn't really matter because it's going onto the junk part. In addition, it also bites better along the edge that you wanted. Cool, so that's marked. I'll mark this one and then I'll bust out the vise. Yeah, I know. The connection keeps dropping. We might have to call it there, man. My line keeps packing its pants. Never trust Australian NBN. Thanks for jumping in, guys. It's been a pretty sweet stream. I'm going to keep working through this and I'll keep recording it anyway, so no one's going to miss anything. I'll just cut it into a bit better content, but thanks for sitting around and listening to me talk for an extended period of time. Let's see if that actually reconnects. Yeah, it's reconnecting. Ugh, so annoying. next time I'll try and switch it to a extreme low latency stream. I flip-flop between excellent connection and completely disconnected, which doesn't work for anyone. But let's see if we can get another couple of minutes out. Don't do what I just did. Remember the angle. Always remember the angle. You can always sand it afterwards. For anyone wondering why I'm only pulling instead of trying to saw with this, when you use little micro saws, the most accurate way of using them is pulling, because they're great little tools, but they flex super easy. Alright. I think that's it, guys. We've dropped out again. Peace. Have a good one.